Do you ever really wish things would just stay the same? It's a lot of hard work to go out and explore all the possible options for the change that you might want to make. And yet, there are a number of benefits that go along with exploring your options. So, today we're going to discuss exploring options, the benefits, and more on this episode of today's Antidote.
Stay tuned for today's Antidote, brought to you by the Renegade Success Network. Today's Antidote features a healthy dose of thought-provoking insights and information for business owners, entrepreneurs, leaders, and nonprofit professionals. Each day since March of 2020, this program has offered that one thing to help you continue on your own unique pathway to success. And now, Renegades, we bring you Bob Graham and Tom Brush.
I got nothing. I couldn't hear it. There's too much road noise. Can you hear all the road noise near me?
I can hear a little bit of it.
Okay, it's really loud. I may have chosen a bad location for my on location with Bob.
So do you want to now do your intro?
My intro. What's my intro? Do. Yeah. It feels. Yeah.
Let me just
take a stab. No, take a stab at it, Tom. You fill in. Go ahead.
It's your bit, not mine.
Do. I don't remember it. It's so weird that I do it all the time and I can't remember it.
Okay. Well, we got some work to do with you this morning. Good morning, everyone else. Hopefully your day is off to a little more energetic start than Mr. Bob's. This is today's Antidote, our daily broadcast and podcast, where we have a conversation each morning of the week around a certain topic. This week's topic is exploring options.
Yes, I heard that.
Today, we're going to talk about the benefits of exploring options. And as we go through our conversation, if you have thoughts and ideas that you'd like to share that you think might add value to our show, please feel free to put them in the comments. Whether you happen to be paying attention on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, or
LinkedIn Live, baby.
That LinkedIn Live, baby. And if you're confused, that's just LinkedIn Live. Bob really wants them to add baby to the end of it because it fits in with that part of his gig that he seems to get that bit right pretty regularly.
I should buy that domain today. LinkedInbaby.com.
One of Bob's favorite things to do is go out and buy internet domains. So
it's it's a hobby of mine.
It's a hobby. So please feel free to share your thoughts and ideas. At the end of the conversation, Bob and I will each share our one thing, our today's antidote. That thing that we hope will help you figure out, maybe today or maybe somewhere down the road, how to take your next step along your own unique pathway to success. Fortunately, before we get to that, we're going to do our celebrations. We do a celebration every morning so that we can change our mindset, think a little bit differently about how things are going. And it appears someone desperately needs to share their celebration. Bob, what are you celebrating today?
I am celebrating that I have a busy day of a lot of different things. And I like busy days sometimes because it just, I don't know, it reminds me that I have a lot going on. And I was excited to get up this morning to do work because I've got a whole bunch of places to be and things to do and people to see. I've got a really great lunch with someone I've never had lunch with before. And I got a lot going on today and I like that.
Okay, fair enough.
How about you?
I'm going to celebrate that right now my calendar is wide open, which allows me the opportunity to do a lot of different things. And I think that sometimes I can explore my options of all the different things that I could do. Now, I could be confusing to some. They might just get overwhelmed with trying to make the choices. For me, it allows me to really explore my options and figure out what are the most priority things I have to do. What are the things that could help move my organization, myself forward. So I enjoy those days when I look at my calendar and there is not a single appointment scheduled on it.
Wow. We are so different.
Yes. We are all unique in our own way. So, as we start our conversation today about exploring options and the benefits of exploring options, Bob, would you like to share some thoughts?
I would love to. I think one of the real benefits about exploring options that's come to mind as we've talked this week is that it gives you a chance to learn more about you and the world that you're around. A lot of times, I'm certainly guilty of this. I think I understand something really well. When I explore options around it, often that's when I discover something that I hadn't thought of. And one of the ways I make myself explore options is I'll say to myself, what if I didn't? Or what if this didn't happen? What if I did the opposite of what I'm doing? How would that affect things? And I think that discussion in my head or with people often leads to alternatives that wouldn't have come up otherwise. You know, we talked a couple of days ago about a situation that I had going on, and you gave me a completely new alternative that I had not considered in my list of alternatives. So I think that's one of the real benefits. Another real benefit is I think when we consider options when we are or explore options when we're working with a team, I think it shows us as a team that we are a team and that we're looking for what works for that team, not just what works for me, especially if I'm the leader and I'm going in and I'm saying, do this, do this, do this, versus, hey, we have this situation. Let's brainstorm ideas on how we might address it. So I think that can really be an important benefit that often gets overlooked. We've talked a lot about the personal benefits, but to me, there's a team benefit in exploring options in that you bring everyone's perspective, their experience, their knowledge to the table. And that can really, leveraging that can really lead to much more, I think, advanced solutions at times.
Certainly. And I think it allows you, as you said, to consider things that you might not have ever considered before. And I think that's sometimes the hardest thing for us, as I mentioned, I think in the opening, is that, people don't like change. People like to say, oh yeah, this is what we're doing and we're just going right along and everything is great. And change, or the potential of change, throws a wrench into that. Mostly because they feel like, "Ugh, now I've got to go out and think about all the different things." It's like if you're trying to buy a house or a car, right? I mean, how much time could you spend searching for the exact car that you want, especially if you don't know what it is? Like maybe you become disenfranchised with your favorite brand and you're now like, I need to do something different. So now the world is now your oyster of all the options you could consider. And sometimes that becomes overwhelming and leaves people uncertain. And I think that sadly, we spend a lot of time worrying about or being confused or overwhelmed by all the options rather than taking it as an opportunity to learn, to expand our knowledge. And we might find things about, in this situation, a car that we had never considered. Or we might find things about people that we know on our team that we had never knew about them because we didn't allow the opportunity for them to share, as you said, their knowledge, experience, and perspective, which could open our eyes to different options, different ways that we could leverage their talents in our organization. I think that I was always amazed, and I was happy usually that my teams would share the various things that they had going on, because they were things that I didn't really know or wouldn't have come up in a work situation. And yet, knowing these other things about their personal lives, if they were willing to share, allowed me to better understand how they operated, how they could help the team, how it could be a part of everything that's going on. We do have a comment. Stephen is commenting again. He says, I love change. At one point, even had my title on here as the change agent. However, I feel like being stuck in a state of perpetual flux prohibits you from your hierarchy of needs are quite met. Your hierarchy of needs are quite met.
Yeah.
So,
well, that constant state of flux can be overwhelming. What I have a little experience with that these days. It seems like a lot of flux going on in my life at times, and I think we all have that if we see it that way. And I think part of what what grounds me when I feel like I'm overwhelmed with all the choices and all the things coming at me is to really get back to the basics. It's one of the reasons why I try to exercise every morning. I try to meditate. I try to journal so that I've got some grounding each day as I start that day. And I know other people who are like, yeah, I always eat the same breakfast, or I always do this in the evening. I always read a book for a half hour, something to ground us, because the reality, Tom, as you know, is our life is in constant change, constant flux. It's a matter of whether we go, oh man, everything's changing, or, oh wow, there are a couple of things changing. And I know I struggle with that at times, which one of those perspectives I take.
Sure. And I think, one of the things I think for those people who, like Stephen said, that's in their constant state of perpetual flux is.
By the way, that phrase, constant state of perpetual flux, is just a great phrase.
Well, and I think that one of the things is that I think when that happens, at least the thought I have around it, is that you're searching for perfection. You're searching for being right, quote unquote, right. And as at least those are two words that I don't like to use because I don't know that they exist. And it just leads us to feeling like, well, it's got to be perfect. It's got to be different. And it's got to be the exact right way. So I need to keep exploring my options so that I can get to that perfect. And I think one of the ways to maybe do that is to take a moment and just say, how long will I feel comfortable staying in the state I am? Given what you just said, and I completely agree, our lives are changing every day. And sometimes the changes are small that we don't really notice them, or we're being impacted every day by things around us. And so, what's real for us changes. Yet I think there are things where we can choose to say, you know what, I'm okay with the certain situation as it is. And I set a time frame by which I'll say, you know what, I'm going to give this current state this much time so that I can better learn and understand what it's like to be in this state before I start looking again for new options. I think so often we get results from the current state and say, it's not really where I want to be. And so we have to change it without allowing time to possibly change those results. What do you think about that, Bob?
I was applying it to a situation I'm in, and it seemed like good advice. So that was a little personal situation. And I think the idea that giving stuff time to feel what we feel and to experience it, I'm certainly someone who, the minute something feels slightly off, I want to change it. I don't, and I'm sure there have been times in my career, in my life, where that knee-jerk reaction has caught me and probably cost me an opportunity to discover things. The other thing that I was going to add to what you were saying was, a lot of it, I think, is also our willingness or our desire to control situations. And when we let go and say, what truly can I control here? I can't really control whether my boss wants to talk to me. I can't control whether a customer buys from me today. I can't control if the person I'm looking forward to having lunch with today goes, you know what, Bob, I'm too busy. I can't do it. I don't have control of that. All I can do is text them at 11:30 and say, looking forward to seeing you at 1 o'clock. That's my control level, and showing up at 1 o'clock. And I think as I've started to realize how little control I have over things, that actually makes it easier to both explore options and also discount options. Because sometimes, I think you're right, often I'm guilty of trying to find perfect, and there isn't perfect. And every job's going to have its downsides. Every client's going to be great, and they're going to be good and bad. And every situation we go through is going to be good and bad. It just is. And I think what often happens for me, and I'm sure other people, is like the minute something bad comes up, it's like, all right, I'm done. No more of that.
Yes. This isn't right.
Right. Correct. Quote. Yes. Or this isn't what I expected. Correct. Right? I think that's even more of it. I don't think it's a matter of right or wrong. It's just, I expected I was going to come to this new job. They were going to pay me this money, and I was going to be a rock star. And suddenly I get there and it's like, oh, I have a learning curve that I wasn't planning for. Oh, you know what? That's not what I expected to be a rock star. And they do things differently, and I'm not sure I want to do that. I was talking to someone a couple weeks ago who went to a new job. They were there for about 3 weeks, and they're like, it was so different. I just couldn't take it. And he left and went back to the company he worked at before, because he realized that company he worked at before was where he felt most comfortable.
Which is, I mean, at least he hopefully he gave himself the 3 weeks. And, you know, again, I think that one of the things that happens and one of the things that makes it challenging and why it's sometimes beneficial to explore options is that.
Got a fan.
So for those of you on the podcast, Bob is outside and somebody either honked or waved, and Bob waved.
People just honked and waved.
Wow. Yeah. There you go. That one of the challenges is that you want it to be perfect. You want the results to be what it is. And one of the things I know is that results will change. And so that person chose to go back to the old office, which is fine. I mean, I think that was what was real for them. The interesting question is, what if he had waited 3 months?
Right.
Would the results have changed? Now, the challenge of waiting 3 months is probably the job at his old job was not going to be available at the old company. And so those are the challenges, the risks that we take when we choose to not take action on the options that we have potentially explored. Clearly, he must have gone back to his old employer and said, hey, not really enjoying this. Isn't there? I'd like to explore the option of me coming back. And they said, oh, here it is. So I think that is, it's an interesting thing. The other thing I think is interesting is that if we take a moment to give ourselves a timeline where we're not really exploring options, I find that a lot of options, as you said, because things change all the time, come to us. And we can't see them because we're spending so much time exploring all the different options. There's one that we had never considered that's not in our mindset, sneaks in, and we don't recognize it. We don't understand it. We don't see it as an option. And so I think that exploring options have enormous benefits. Wow, there's some noisy cars where you are.
It was an 18-wheeler just went by.
Got it. There are also significant benefits, I think, that we've shared, is to understand all the different things that are out there. And I think when we are at least open to exploring options, those things show up that we might not have considered. You know, it's one thing to set a timeline and be like, you know what, I'm going to stay in this. This is the timeline that I'm going to give my current state to see how long it lasts and to see if the results do change over time. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes you get the exact same results because you're doing the exact same thing. And while doing that, other things are going to come towards you. And many times I think there's the challenge of, I said I was going to wait this long, but this other thing has come in that seems like it might be something worth exploring. Doesn't mean you have to choose it. Just means that it is worthwhile to explore. And then you can at least make the discussion of, hey, I said I was going to give myself this much time. I still have this many weeks. This other thing is out there. Is it immediate? Would I need to act right away? Have I given the other thing enough time? And then, I mean, obviously those are some of the challenges lie. And as we know, that with every benefit and opportunity that's out there, there are always going to be challenges and obstacles that come along with it. So, Bob, as we wrap up our conversation,
I was going to add, I think that idea of constantly seeking is one that resonates with me. That if you're constantly seeking something better, something different, something that delivers the results you're looking for, you never really give it a full amount of time with the thing that you're doing at the moment to see if it might actually do it. And I really like your idea of when you're least expecting it, you know, when you're not seeking, something might enter your frame of being where you weren't thinking about it, and lo and behold, that's the thing that you've been seeking that you couldn't find because you were too busy seeking it.
Right. You're so focused on what you thought the option was you were looking for or the signals that you were used to, that this is something you should consider. You're going to miss out on those ones that are the signals that you would never have imagined, or the options that you would never have in the past considered, because it didn't seem to be what you were. It wasn't in your current knowledge, experience, and perspective. And so you dismissed it, or you weren't even aware of it, likely. You need to
or you dismissed it because it didn't seem like it met the criteria that you were seeking.
Correct.
I want a job that pays me X number of dollars, and I want it to be these hours, and I want it to be in this area and this and this. And so you've set that criteria, and then there's a job that's 5 miles further out from where you said you wanted to be, and it pays you $2,000 less. And instead of working 9 to 5, you work 8 to 4. And you could easily just, no, that's not what I want, because I'm not getting a raise.
And I haven't even considered it.
Right. Correct.
That's, I think once we go out there and we set some parameters around what we're exploring, we've closed ourselves off to other options that we wouldn't ever consider, even though those things might have things that are much more beneficial to what we're trying to accomplish than we had ever imagined. So, Bob, what's your one thing today?
I'm not sure I have one. So much of what we've talked about really applies to my life at the moment. So I think the real takeaway for me for the day, my one thing would be that when we're constantly seeking, we can't be open to all the possibilities, that we really can't look at options when we have a preconceived notion of what we're trying to do.
Okay, I like that. I also think that there's the, when I think about exploring options and the benefits, I think that what you shared is a challenge to all of it, or is something worthwhile to consider. I think the benefits is that you do provide an opportunity to learn more. And I almost think that exploring sounds like an action that you are taking, correct? I mean, when you're exploring it, You're going out and seeking it. It could also be, I think, is not closing yourself off to other things that may arrive. I think that usually, sometimes when you're out exploring, as long as you haven't set your parameters so restricted, you might be open to these other things. You'll be like, well, that's interesting. I had never really thought about that. Maybe this is something I should continue to explore because it showed up. And I think the benefits of exploring is that if you are open to them, lots of things will come your way. If you are exploring them with a lot of restrictions, you're not necessarily going to find exactly what you're looking for.
I like that. Nice.
So, if you have one thing that you would like to share, and Stephen has another comment. He says, do you seek challenges or do you seek comfort in your change? It's a good, interesting question to ask. I think that those are, and I think one thought is each of those sets in its own parameters that may restrict you from finding other options that actually might be more beneficial for what you're searching for.
And what you're doing in the moment.
Correct.
Constantly seeking the new challenge. So often I forget that, hey, I should enjoy what I'm doing right now for a little bit.
Yep. So if you have one thing you'd like to share, please feel free to put the comments. We would value it. If you happen to be listening to the podcast, unfortunately, there's no opportunity to share your thoughts and ideas there. So we have provided an opportunity for you to do that, whether you are a LinkedIn person or a Facebook person. In either way, we have a group that you can join to be a part of, to share your thoughts and ideas. So whether it's the Ring of Renegades Facebook group or the Renegade Success Network for Leaders group on LinkedIn, you can come and join us and share your thoughts and ideas there that will add value to what we have to what others are searching for. And you may actually, just by going there and sharing your thoughts, discover an option that you might not have ever considered because someone else was sharing their value with it. So I would encourage you to join whichever one of those you spend your more time on. And we look forward to seeing you inside one of those groups, or we'll see you tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. Eastern time for our next episode of today's Antidote.
My
Have a
favorite.
great day, everyone.
It's Discoveries of the Week.
Bob's favorite show of the week, Discoveries of the Week. Yes. So we look forward to sharing ours with you. And maybe Bob will be in it to start off the show in a different mood. Maybe, because it's his favorite show. All right, everybody, go out and have a great day.
Hey, embrace the renegading you. And consider the options. Explore one extra option today and see what happens. You'll be surprised, I bet, with the result.
Absolutely. And I would also say, if you find yourself in a state of flux, seeming like you have to just always searching for options, give yourself a timeline. Doesn't have to be long. It could be a couple of hours. Like, you know what? I'm going to stop thinking about it. Or maybe it could be a couple of days. So go out and make it a great day. We'll see you soon. Thanks for listening to today's Antidote, powered by the Renegade Success Network. The Renegade Success Network helps you confidently create your own unique pathway to success. To learn more about the Renegade Success Network and how you can take your next step, follow us on Twitter, connect on LinkedIn, or join the Ring of Renegades Facebook group. For full details on how you can join our community, go to renegadesuccessnetwork.com. Embrace the renegade in you.